Hello. So for this part of my presentation, it's going to be involving demonstrating the Weber and the Rhine test. These are crucial diagnostic tools for assessing hearing, specifically helping us differentiate between conductive hearing loss. So if there's problems with sound transmission through the ear or outer ear, and sensorineural hearing loss, which is problems with the inner ear or auditory nerve. So I'm going to be doing two different tests today. The first one is going to be the Weber test, and it's just going to start by, so I have my tuning fork. It is a 512 hertz tuning fork, I believe, and it just falls within the range of human speech frequencies. So for this first test, the Weber test, you start just by gently you strike it against the surface. It can be your hand, knee, and it's essentially going to make this vibrate at a frequency that we can hear. So I'm just going to go over it a little bit. So I'll do that. I'm going to end up putting it on the top of my own head, and I'm going to be listening for which if I can hear it equally on both ears, or if I'm hearing it on one side or more. And so we will do that. So I'm just going to hit it. And for me, that was pretty even. I could hear that on both sides until it went away. I will be giving a kind of more in-depth, I'm going to go over the next test and then a kind of in-depth explanation of both and kind of the results, if something happened, why it happened. Alright, so next is the Rhine test. So I'm going to be striking this, but then I'm going to be placing it on the back of my mastoid process, which is behind your ear right here. And you want to hold it there until you can no longer hear it vibrate at this point. And then once you can no longer hear it vibrate, you want to move it about like an inch away from your ear canal. And you want to listen until you can no longer hear it vibrate anymore. So again, okay, I can't hear it anymore. And I can still hear it now. And I can no longer hear it anymore. Alrighty, so for the Weber test, when I placed it on my forehead, the vibration travels through the skull bone directly to the trochlea, which is the hearing organ in the inner ear. If there's a problem with how sound travels through the air, which is conductive loss, the ear with the blockage will actually amplify the sound conducted through the bones because external noise isn't interfering as much. If there's a problem with the inner ear or the nerve, which is sensorineural loss, the ear can't pick up the sound as well. So the louder the sound will be perceived in the unaffected ear. Okay, so that wasn't me. I could hear it fine. Nothing was amplified on either ear. I could hear it equally on both ends. So for the Rhine test, this test directly compares hearing through air versus through bone. So air conduction is how we normally hear. Sound waves travel through the ear canal, vibrate the eardrum, and then hit the tiny bones in the middle of the ear, and finally to the trochlea. So bone conduction is a shortcut. When I put the tuning fork on the mastoid bone, I'm bypassing the outer and middle ear entirely and sending vibration straight to the trochlea. In normal hearing conditions, it's more efficient because it involves more amplifying structures. If there's a blockage in the middle ear, which is conductive loss, the sound through bone conduction might actually sound louder because it's bypassing the problem. If the problem is in the inner ear or the nerve, which is sensorineural loss, then both air and bone conduction will be impaired. But air conduction will still generally be perceived as louder than bone conduction. but that's it. That's the experiment. It's pretty interesting. This is actually 384 hertz, not 512, but pretty interesting experiment, and I never would have thought that once doing the Rhine test, when you pull it back from here, and when you can no longer hear the vibration at this point, I was really surprised how you could still hear it here. So it's just super interesting just to do this on yourself. But overall, I had a great time. Thanks.